Dear darling Thriver, welcome to Thriver TV, where we talk about narcissists with a really powerful twist to give you your power back and get out of their grasp to create your healthy, happy and successful life. Today we're going to talk about sex, how narcissists treat you sexually, why do they do what they do, how it can be so devastating and extremely damaging for you, and how you can get out of these predicaments and ensure that you're never going to go through them again, and how you can know how not to get caught up with a narcissist sexually in the future. Now I'm going to explain this today to you in real life stories. But just before I do, remember, if you haven't yet subscribed to my channel, I'd love you to do and like and share this video if you really resonate with it. Okay, we're going to get into today's storytelling because I think it's going to help you a lot. We're going to go through a story of Jean and Hamish. Jean met Hamish and she was instantly attracted to him. He was handsome, successful and charming. And after the first date, she was really hoping and praying that he would take her out again, and he did. And before long, they ended up in bed and she started to have a relationship with him. Hamish took a lot more from Jean, a lot more of her energy and her attention than he gave. And she wanted more time with him than he did with her. She started to feel like a golfing widow because Hamish was often away with his work colleagues and his friends, and he'd go away for extended long weekends and all sorts of stuff. And she, understandably, she wanted a lot more emotional connection and she wanted sexual intimacy with Hamish. And at the start, the sex had been great. Hamish started to make excuses. He was detaching from her. And, you know, it wasn't just about their horizontal relationship. Jean wanted to socialize and she wanted him to join in her life with her and all sorts of things. And he wasn't keen to do that. He wanted to do his own thing. And he would also get very jealous and controlling if she wanted to spend time with her friends and socialize. Then he started accusing her of not being able to be trusted. And she tried to desperately assure him that she was trustworthy. It was down the track that Jean found out the terrible truth. She'd suspected it for a while and he had accused her of being insecure and being ridiculous. And anyway, she found out point blank that Hamish had been having casual affairs behind her back during their entire 5-year relationship. And when she caught him out in a way that he could not deny it and flip it back on her and accuse her of being insecure and jealous and all that stuff, Hamish embarked on a terrible smear campaign when she left him, which added incredible insult to injury. Jean had to go through a deep recovery. And what had been so hard for her was because she'd felt so sexually attracted to him, more so than she had anybody ever, even though he then started withholding. The chemical connection she felt to him was so intense, and she felt like this was her twin flame, which I know a lot of you have experienced, and I felt like that too, because the connection and the attraction was so huge. So what was really going on here? That's the surface story, that's what happened, but what was the deeper story? We're going to get to that. But before we do, we're going to go to our next couple and our next story, which is Andy and Sarah. Andy met Sarah and he was so astounded and flattered that somebody so attractive, intelligent and sensual could be interested in him. Andy immediately fell for Sarah and she stayed over the very first night that they met and a whirlwind romance began. And Andy fell hook, line and sinker for Sarah. Why wouldn't he? The sex was so passionate and exciting. She was beautiful and he was smitten. Not long after that, Andy started to find out that Sarah had many issues in her life. She had drama at work. There was all these issues with her family, and he discovered that she had heaps of debt, unpaid registration on her car, and her life was really disheveled. And Andy felt like he really loved her and he wanted to help, so soon he was mopping up all of Sarah's messes. And when she got kicked out of her apartment because she hadn't paid the rent, he asked her to move in with him. When Andy wanted to talk about her problems and sort them out, Sarah just wanted to have sex. And he was a guy, so he did. And Andy was he was still under her spell. So he kept giving her money and sorting out her stuff, and he was giving her a soft place to land. He thought he was really, helping her and doing the right thing. Then Andy's business, his own business, he went through a time of repositioning, and it was tough. He lost a lot of contracts, the money flow was tight, and Andy told Sarah that he couldn't do the dinners out and the weekends away and give her extra money for now. Sarah started pulling back. The sex dried up, and 2 weeks later she told him that she was having feelings for a man that she met at her work. Andy was devastated and he tried to reason with her. Sarah did have the affair and she tearfully told him, and she even moved in with this new guy. Andy tried to win her back. And she came back, and then she kept seeing this guy as well, and then she came back after 2.5 years of Andy being ripped apart by her affairs. He finally had to let go of her to stop the agony and heal himself. And initially it was tough because Sarah kept playing with him and reeling him back in, like a cat with a mouse, until he finally held no contact. So that's the surface story of what happened in the real world with this stuff with him and her, but what was really going on under the surface, I'm going to explain soon. But before I do that, I'm going to share this last story about Jen and Christopher. Jen met Chris at gym. They were friends for a few weeks, and then Christopher asked her out. A relationship developed where Jen really believed she'd met the one. They shared similar values, they had the same health interests and outlooks, they were eating the same kind of meals, and they loved hanging out and working out together. But the sex felt really strange to Jen though. It was kind of disconnected, robotic, and she felt strangely empty afterwards. And she started to notice that the compliments that Chris was giving her about her body and her looks and her physique kind of now felt off for her. Why didn't he ask her about her day? Why wasn't he in the slightest interested in her life, her business, or her feelings? It seemed he was only connecting to her through comments about her physicality and what she wore. Any conversation about anything else, she discovered, was nearly impossible. She tried to get him to appreciate more about her and get more involved in her inner world and her life, but he just didn't have the capacity or the desire to do this. And the more she asked for this, the more he pushed back, and he told her that him appreciating her beauty should be what mattered, and wouldn't every woman want this? The sex wasn't just mechanical and unsatisfying, it was also often quite dysfunctional. And Jen then discovered the sordid truth. Christopher was a porn addict. He didn't know how to relate to soulful or meaningful sex or her heart, and he didn't have a desire to. All right, so what was that really about? We're going to check that out after we dissect our first two couples. Okay, so we're going to get into the true sexual/spiritual story and what's really going on here. And we need to do this because as thrivers, we take our power back to heal where we're handing over power. And as always, the real inquiry is not what happened to me, which would lead us into researching narcissists endlessly for hours. The real thriver inquiry is, why did this happen to me? So let's check out Jean and Hamish. How did Jean get hooked into a relationship with Hamish? How did that happen? She did what we all do. It was chemical attraction. She met him, she wanted to get asked out. He asked her out, you know, he on the surface he looked amazing. And she fell straight into a relationship. The chemical attraction, he ticked the boxes, but she didn't take her time to get to know him. Her inner love code, it's the same for all of us. Our inner love code, and we all have our traumas and our painful stuff, that is how we've related to relationship. And it comes through our genetic material, our families, our childhoods, our earlier relationships, and it's usually a pattern. Our inner love code is a pattern until we heal it. So what had happened for her in Jean's family life, she felt small, invisible, irrelevant. And even though she was beautiful, talented, and she had so much to offer, her inner love code was, the people I love are unavailable to me. She'd also suffered her mum's trauma as a result of the infidelity of her father. So all of this was normal love to her. And Hamish was like so many narcissists. He had no concept of loyalty, conscience, and monogamy. Why worry about those things when narcissistic supply is the name of the game? For Sarah, no matter what he did, she was in that relationship feeling an incredible sexual attraction and love for him. And even when she found out about the affairs initially, she tried to reason with him. She tried to fix him. She tried to change him until she realized the truth that nothing changes if nothing changes. And the only person that we ever have the power to change is ourselves, specifically our inner being, our inner love code. So when she let go of trying to fix and change him and actually turned in to fix and change her inner love code and healed it, then not only did she get free of him, she got free of the pattern of more of him. Now let's have a look at Andy and Sarah and what's going on with Andy here. And again, which is normal, you know, in dating and things like that. He went for attraction. Sarah was beautiful. She was into him. She was his dream girl. But he didn't get to know her at a respectful pace. He didn't date platonically. He fell straight into bed with her and into a whirlwind romance with her, rather than standing back and dating her and wooing her at a respectful pace and getting to see who the person is, who the character is. So what he had going on in his inner love code from his childhood programming was, the women I love are damaged and need rescuing. His mum had addictions. She'd also had depression. So as he was growing up as a little boy, he was trying to fix his mum and he was trying to rescue his mum, which of course is going to bring women in like that. And this is one of the programs that many beautiful thriver men in our community have had this going on. And of course, Sarah, like many narcissistic women, could hook him through her looks and her sexual appeal. She could use sex to get what she wanted. So that's what was going on here. And Andy was trying to fix her and sort out her life so that she would be safe enough to love him. So really, he was playing out these unmet, unhealed wounds of hoping that he could save his mother this time. Okay, so last but not least, let's have a look at Jean and Chris. But sorry, just before we do, it wasn't until Andy could let go. This is why he was so connected to Sarah and so in love with her and couldn't let her go initially, even with all of the affairs that she was doing, because he was trying to fix this damaged woman to be safe enough so that she could love him. And it wasn't until he realized that that equals how to lose every time. It's wrong town. He had to let go of him, her, and heal that inner love code. Okay. All right. Last but not least, in our sexual dissection of intimate partner patterns here and how it can go on, we had Jen and Chris. And again, Jen she didn't have an idea about how to date and get to know somebody platonically before getting involved with them. So she was in a relationship with Christopher and she didn't realize that she was being objectified. You know, at first it was really flattering that he told her she was hot and sexy and beautiful and things like this. Now, this is really interesting when we get down to sexual objectification. Jen had grown up in a family where how she looked and what she accomplished was so much more important than her feelings or what was going on in her inner world. You know, she was told if she was ever sad or upset, oh, just don't think about it and get on with it. And, you know, be perfect. Be perfect, get it done, get this accomplishment done, whatever. So Jen also was very hard on herself and she demanded more and more excellence and perfection and performance. You know, hence why she was pretty much an obsessive gym junkie. And her inner love code was, the people who love me treat me as an object and the people who love me will only love me if I'm perfect. Many a narcissist objectifies their sexual partners and can't connect with them at a deep intimacy, which is intimacy, a deep emotional level. And we can't actually allow that into our life and participate with it unless we have accepted and connected with ourselves at a deep emotional level, warts and all. And for a narcissist to objectify somebody, it's very helpful for them because they want to keep separated. They don't want true connection. And of course, her inner love code, the same as all of us, is we're connected to the people that match the inner love code. The people who love me objectify me. The people who love me aren't interested in my emotional world. The people who love me, you know, I'm only loved if I'm perfect. So he was a perfect match, hence why she hung on, clung on, and she tried to force him to get it to change until she realized, again, it's wrong town. It's never going to work. Until she let go and knew what she needed to do. She needed to heal this pattern. Okay, so in conclusion to today's stories, I hope that this has given you insight. I tried to cover 3 of the major stories so that you, and also cater to guys too, because I want you to know the beautiful guys here in our community, they need help as well. This is not a gender issue. It happens to all of us. So I really hope that this has helped you understand what can be going on in traumatic sexual relationships where you're being cheated on, whether you're being manipulated to hand over stuff, or you're being objectified. So that you know, first of all, it's so important to take your time to date respectfully, to get to know people, get past the chemical connection component. And be very clear that if you feel really like, oh my God, this is like my twin flame, this could be your painful love code showing itself. Get to know a person's character and also heal yourself beyond that love code so you know your values and your boundaries. And how we powerfully catapult into that level of being able to be a healthy, empowered dater is by healing the painful inner traumas. My highest recommendation always is to really seek out and heal your painful inner love code from traumatic relationships that you've suffered from your genetic programs, your childhood, and your painful adult relationships with NARP is the most powerful way you can do that. And I really, for those of you, you may have heard about NARP or you're interested in my Quantum Freedom Healing System, I'd love you to come into my free workshop, because you'll have a quantum freedom healing that you go through and you get to feel and you get it explained to you. How to powerfully heal your inner love code from the inside out. Okay, and how, rather than, decades of therapy and all that stuff, when you heal in the quantum way, it's nothing like that. You can heal in time frames that will stun you and make it possible for you to be the person who you choose to be, enter and retain healthy, safe, and truly fulfilling relationships. Okay, so I'd love to hear from you about this episode in the comments below. Do you relate to any of these stories? Do you know what your love pattern and your inner painful love code may be? Where are you on your healing journey with breaking free from this? It's going to be a great conversation. Okay, so again, remember to subscribe and share and like this video if you found it helpful. And until the next one, keep smiling, keep healing, and keep thriving, because there's nothing else to do. And all of the links and the references are in the show notes. Lots of love. Bye-bye.